All right, so we're going to hit this in smaller chunks. So first we're talking about the education context. And what's taught in a culture is critical to two things. It's critical to the maintenance and to the very perpetuation of that culture. Cultures basically reinforce themselves within the process of education. Education, or rather cultures that have formal education systems, tend to teach many of the same subjects, such as literacy, math, science, history, and religion. And while history is taught in a lot of cultures, each culture has sort of a different version and certainly emphasizes its own cultural past. And knowing how teaching occurs within a culture, how education works within that culture, is important for a number of reasons. One, it gives you information about the knowledge of the culture. Two, it provides understanding about the relationships between student and teacher and between students and students. And three, it illustrates how much importance a culture places on education. When you look at some of the issues regarding multicultural education, there are four things that I have in my notes underneath this general idea of the challenges. The first, one of the fundamental pragmatic challenges, is that the very goal of multicultural education is to produce productive members of society, and that can be a challenge. Number two, that majority and minority cultures will play themselves out in a visible way within a classroom. Okay, whether it's a dominant culture or a subculture, you'll see it played out in this sort of a microcosm of the classroom, within the classroom. Three, it is the teacher's job to find a way to build a bridge between a student's diverse home and educational experience and the subjects they have to teach. And fourth, that a multicultural student body is important and has benefits for both dominant and co-cultures. Third, this idea of learning styles. Learning styles are very much critically important. It's some debate as to how many learning styles exist and different various definitions. But these are four common themes that you'll find within this notion of learning styles. Learning style is how you process information, and we don't all do it the same. The first that you see there, field independence versus field dependence, that has to do with whether you see the little picture, whether you see the big picture. Field independent learners tend to perceive objects as separate and individualized, not necessarily part of the big picture, separate from the field, whereas field dependent tend to take more of a global perspective. They rather prefer to look at it all holistically rather than individual aspects. Cooperation versus competition, that has a lot to do with whether a culture prefers to work together. Also has to do with reward systems. Trial and error versus watch and do. Do you prefer just to dive in and get your hands dirty even if you make mistakes, or would you prefer to have something modeled for you so that you can watch somebody else do it first? And tolerance versus intolerance for ambiguity has a lot to do with uncertainty avoidance, which we've talked about elsewhere in the course. The idea of linguistic diversity. Conservative estimate is that as much as 45% of public school enrollment is a linguistically diverse student population. Certainly that number is higher in our area, Southern California. We have to accommodate students from a variety of different backgrounds. There is no common language, there is no formal language within the United States classroom. And the other interesting issue to consider here is the idea of dialects and accents. That influences perception and has a lot of variations. So your book goes into this and spends some time on that. Lastly, what does a culturally responsive classroom look like? And what characteristics of a communicator are self-efficacy has to do with the effectiveness of an individual. Immediacy, being able to reach out and make that contact. Empathy, to be able to create a very supportive communication climate, to be able to be very sensitive and aware both to verbal and to nonverbal behavior, to be genuine. And you have to, as a communicator, do several different things, provide opportunities to talk about different things globally and culturally, to avoid distinctions that separate us and them, and a variety of suggestions suggested in your book discussed there.